Yeah, okay, time to live free. Plenty goals I'm achieving. Some real life topics and talking financial freedom. Mindset, soul and love, everything in between. This is Freedom Podcast. Tune in, live free. Hey, got my mindset right and I got the drive. Planning one day, no more job, no more 9 to 5. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. This is freedom. Tune in, cause it's going down. Woo!
Hi, this is Anna Davidson, and this is Your Freedom Podcast. In this episode, I interview Steve Beedie from Unspoken Wounds. And I've got to say, this interview really hits my core because if you followed me for a while, you'll have heard me talk about finding the meaning of suffering. And Steve served in the British Army for 9 years, operating in Kosovo, Iraq, and saw combat in war zones that changed his view of the world. Seeing kids blown up, towns burned to the ground, and cities bombed to ruins provided the experiences which started a decade-long nightmare of PTSD, hell, and mental health torture. Waking up in a prison cell after years of alcohol and mental anguish, he realised that this was going to be his fight if he wanted to live. It wasn't even about winning or success. This was about life or death after coming home from war. But with no resources available to him in the northeast of Scotland and waiting lists stretching 18 months or more for psychological help, he only had one option. Basically, he had to figure this hell out, one step at a time on his own. With no money, no job, no car or internet or access to cash, he was evicted from his home along with his family on Christmas Eve. At the very same time, he made a decision. No matter what, he would find a way through this darkness and one day help a few others going through the same struggles with their mental health. He created a brand called Unspoken Wounds, which back in 2008 was a simple and small idea to inspire a few ex-forces to speak out about their struggle, as Steve was doing stigma from mental health. It's become a dynamic, pioneering brand, and Steve now speaks all over the UK and consults for major executives including oil and gas, construction, prison services, universities and the media and press, and has also shared his story live to over 7 million people and growing online through the power of social media. He has sold out his events. He's planning to cycle across the UK to Kosovo to speak to people and inspire many more along his pilgrimage back to the very place this all started. Steve is driven by his powerful and very human message, which is heart and fire. If you want to go and check him out, you can find his live videos and very down-to-earth vlogs and blogs at Facebook Unspoken Wounds. Okay, so welcome to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast, and I'm really pleased with this one because I've been really excited to interview Steve for a while. Steve Beedie. He's got, well, I'm going to leave it to him actually to share a bit about his story, but we connected probably about 7-8 years ago just on Facebook, and I'm part of his page, been following some of his inspiring videos and lives about what he's been doing the last sort of 8 years. So Steve, I'm going to hand it over to you because we have these parallels, don't we, where we focus quite a lot on mindset.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think we both probably agree that your mind can be such a powerful tool.
Totally.
So share us a little bit about your journey and how this has all begun, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I led quite a regular life. I was a soldier. That was all I ever wanted to do. I'm very proud to be a British soldier. And I joined when I was 16. I knew when I was 8 years old, that was what I wanted to do. And I joined the army at 16. So just a kid, really. By the time I was 18, I was in my first operational tour. So I served in Kosovo. I did 2 tours there in '99. And I mean, that was just life-changing events. Some of the things that you see over there were just greatly life-changing. And you're talking about mindset. A lot of people think that business mindset is like the frontier for everything, and it is in a sense. But a lot of people forget that business is very military in its essence. We talk about the mission, the people, the leadership. These are military qualities, and to me, it was just my life. You know how you feel at waking 4 o'clock every day to do your job and getting 3 to 4 hours sleep a day, being happy, taking care of each other, having each other's backs, and friendship qualities, loyalty. These are real things. So when I was a young man, this was just my natural life, and I just loved it. I spent some time in Iraq. I did 2 tours in the Iraq War. And after that, I really decided, it's time to do other things in my life.
How old were you then? So she joined at 16. When you did Kosovo, how old were you in Kosovo when you were in Kosovo?
I was 18 when I went there, 19 when I came home, and I was 22 when I went to Iraq. And I was a detachment commander in the Iraq War, and I was 23 when I came home, and I was way more mature than my years should have been.
Yeah.
I was filled up with a lot of anger and resentment, a lot of darkness, a lot of rage.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it subsequently propelled me to be in the man I am today. So it was a very, very tough time transitioning from the army to civilian life. Very hard.
So what happened? Why did you choose to leave the army, or what?
No, they kicked me out. they had to get rid of me in the end. There's not a place for this guy. Get him out. The old cog in the machine. No, there was no grease that was going to keep me going. I actually got medical discharged. What we now know as PTSD. But back then...
The reason I'm asking is because I know a lot of people who've had that discharge from the army.
Yeah, I got medical discharge.
It's not an uncommon thing, is it? It's not like unusual.
No, and I'm not ashamed of anything in my life. Nothing. I don't feel shame for, and even my mistakes. I'm more proud of, and we can get onto that when we talk about mindset. Because back then nobody was talking about mental health. They really weren't, especially in the military. Your career is defined by your successes. Yes, you make mistakes, but it is defined on your success. And unless you're consistently doing better and better, they're not really interested in you. So I was boxing for the army. I was doing lots of different extracurricular activity for the army, rugby, cross-country running, basketball, anything that could put a shine on my name, my reputation, which I didn't even know back then, is branding.
Yeah.
How people look at you and talk about you. It's reputation. And I embodied that hard ethic, that work ethic. But in the end, it didn't pay off because one bad mistake is all it takes. And it wasn't even a mistake. I was ill. I just spent 2 of my years of life in a war zone, and I had nobody to talk to about it. Exactly. And I was a young man, very, very young man. And these things happened very quickly in the space of a couple of years. And I was seeing some huge atrocities, which, I was witnessing murders. I was seeing some very, very bad things.
What was the worst thing that you experienced? Can you share it, or is it hard to share?
I mean, it's always hard to share, but the truth is that I have shared this story, and I believe in quite a small amount of things. If you're going to tell somebody a story, sell the truth.
Yeah.
Don't polish it. Don't hold it back. If you're going to tell a story, tell the fucking story. Because people see through you. No matter how good you are, they will see through you. And the British public and the general public out there are very fucking clever. And they're very informed and clever. So yeah, I watched a 12 or 13-year-old kid getting blown up, and I watched his father holding him in his arms, and his body was just destroyed. And it's not like the movies. It really isn't. That really shook me to the core. Saw mass graves. So some pretty horrific things. It's strange as well because, like, in our culture, there's this whole veganism thing happening in the world, right? Be good to the animals, and that's great. See, when you're on tour and you're bloody hungry and you've been eating pasta for 3 months, breakfast, lunch and dinner, and I'm not kidding, pasta for every meal. It was about 2.5, 3 months. Pasta and tuna, pasta and tomatoes, pasta and cabbage. I was like, I need a fucking steak.
Yeah.
I want a steak. I want one now. And I'm being a big kid. I want a proper man food thing here. So we were attached to this Italian brigade for a little while called the Garibaldi Brigade, just like the biscuits. And I said to this guy, I says, yeah, Mario, come on. He says, see. Yeah. I says, any chance of getting meat? And he went, see, and the meat, I went, yes, meat, steak, pork, fucking anything. I'm tired of pasta. And he's like, and he gave it this, I do. But a week later, gets this tray of pasta with this like thin sliced steak, and I'm like, oh my God, yes. And I'm cutting into it with the white plastic forks. I'm like, God. And I'm like, well, I haven't had meat in a while, but this isn't, I don't recognise this meat. I'm like, it had gravy on it, and I'm like, and I went, yeah, Mario, what's this? What? I went, what's this meat? And he went, it is, how you say, a woof woof. I was like, what? I'm eating fucking dog. And he went, pooch, yeah, pooch. I was like, oh my fucking God.
That's like,
I finished it.
That's like sort of like my China trip experience.
Yeah.
Swap stories all night on those ones.
So it's like, these things happen in your life. And I was a young man when all these things happened, but they also bring a certain value and quality.
Experience, exactly. Every experience, whatever, whatever it is, good or bad, or what we perceive as bad.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about perception. I think, well, I'm sure you'll agree with this, that you can have, one day where you're perceiving everything to be just like, the worst thing in the world. And then it can actually literally change in a day.
100%.
About how you are. It's all down to us. But it is difficult at times, isn't it? We're human. We've got to we can't pretend when we're going through tough times to not accept it. I think not accepting it gives you more anxiety. You kind of you've got to let it, accept you and kind of feel the process really, and just get down and bawl your eyes out, and then because it's then you've got through that energy of it. That's how I see things.
No, really, yeah.
But you can also see things with a completely different perception. It's weird.
It's funny you talk about that there. Just as a side note, I've been doing a thing that I used to do years ago, and I haven't done it for a while. And there's a few events that have happened in my life, in my personal life, and I'm like, it's not so much the anxiety, but it's definitely like, this is not going well. Like things I'm not comfortable with. Yeah. And I've spoke to a few friends. I'm like, can I tell you about this thing that's happened? So there are a few things with my immediate family, my real close family. I'm like, this thing's happened, and they're a bit upset with me, and I'm trying to find an excuse as to why I don't think that they're right. So I stopped that and I asked a friend, I said, could you tell me how I am wrong? And they're like, really? I was like, yeah, I want you to tell me how I'm wrong in this situation, because clearly I've done, or not intentionally, because we're all so busy, and we're all so busy and focused on ourselves that we do tend to forget at times. So I like to pull back the curtain sometimes and give myself the omission to be completely fucking wrong.
Yeah.
And I find that a pretty good quality of myself.
Yeah.
I give myself permission to be completely wrong, to have fucked things up, to be able to stop and learn and go, right, okay, I didn't think of it like that. Shit. Okay, but now I have the information to fix it and fix it properly.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And just
you're right, because there's also perceptions on us, and obviously I was referencing like us having the perception we have on our own life, but also we are perceived in different ways, and we've all got different focuses, and like you say, it's how you come across it. People misunderstand. Everything's about understanding, isn't it? And people misunderstand, but it's could be us not communicating it properly, and It's like that saying of assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups.
Yeah, it's true.
So true.
Yeah, it's true.
Come on then. So you were 23, 24, you got shucked out the army.
Get on the fuck.
And then your life then hit a real dark period, didn't it, really?
Yeah. Well, by the time I got medically discharged, I was 26. Back home, and my identity was gone. The way I saw myself was, I am a soldier. Now that identity was gone now. And I was working for a construction company as a HGV gritter driver, driving the snow plows, or the sna plough as we call it up here. And it was a good job. Money was fine, but no belonging. It was just a job, which is, it's okay. But for me, I need to be part of something. No real growth potential. I was miserable, and I piled on weight very, very quickly. I was what you would class as an athlete in the army, boxer, runner, doing huge, like running up mountains. I ran up Mount Snowdon in an hour and 40 when I was 16. You know, I was a very fit bloke, and I went from 12 and a half, 13 stone when I left the army, and I went to 18.6 stone within a year and a half.
Right, okay.
I was so fucking unhappy. And I didn't know that this PTSD and depression, anxiety, just fucking rage and darkness from war was brewing inside. And I got very, I was very angry, confused. And because the army didn't like to talk about it, and I'd been technically medically discharged, just get rid of you. And I'm in a job now that I didn't foresee me being in. I just hit self-destruct in a big, big way.
Do you think the army's got better at managing it or not?
Oh,
No.
No, I mean, they can't even keep their numbers up for recruitment. You know, that they are terrible at man management, believe it or not. In terms of, you know, we live in a world where, yes, you need to have a fighting army. And to do that, you need to teach them how to kill and to survive and to do very, very complex, very difficult, arduous things. It takes a certain individual to do that. You can train anyone to do it, but to do it at a level, it takes a certain individual. But you also need to remember that we live in a world where openness, communication, kindness, empathy, these are the things and qualities that matter as well.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not about pulling the trigger. Sometimes it's about when not to pull the trigger.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that can be the difference between the quality of how your life moves into how experiences things are. But
I think
not
maybe that, like the whole structure of, I mean, I don't know much, but apart from what other friends have told me, you know, like the whole structure with all the rank system and just, it's kind of like a different world, isn't it? It's not the real world as we know it.
Yeah, I mean, the rank.
The Air Force and Navy, which I'm sure you'll probably have to take the mick out of both of those. But I'm sure, because I've heard the Army lads, you know, rip the Navy. But you've got all of these that's very similar in a way, the culture that's within it. Probably the police as well, possibly the firemen as well, or firewomen people. It's that institutional kind of ranking system and not showing emotion and not having, like you say, empathy and things like that. Yeah,
I mean, like the rank structure is needed. You can't operate without that in a machine that big.
Yeah.
Many people forget that Britain, our sole occupation for the last 1,000 to 2,000 years has been war. That has been our primary sort of like standard. We have defended this island very well, and we've done a bloody good job of it. No matter what the press or the people think, we've done a bloody good job at protecting this island. We're not so good at running it from the inside, but the structures of the army, it's needed, it's good. I love all service.
Yeah, you've got to have some structure. But what I'm saying, I've heard like army wives all like getting really like bitchy with different ranks and all that.
Oh yeah, they wear the rank more than the blokes do.
Christ.
What's your name? Oh, I'm Mrs. Captain. Oh, fuck
Yeah, exactly. It's all.
and you know, yeah, we all. That's an inside joke, that, yeah.
So you don't think the army's got any better as regards to kind of, because from my point of view, sometimes it just seems like they use the lads when they've had enough of them. You know, we've created this sort of mess that you've ended up in, but we don't care. You're out now because you're not fit for us.
No, I care very, very much about the men and women of the British armed military, the armed forces, but you got to remember that when they're out, it's charities that are there for them. That's wrong.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that case. It's, you know, it just shouldn't come to having a charity to helping you out of this situation. Now, we're all grown adults, and, you know, it does ultimately fall on your shoulders how your life turns out. But sometimes life affects us in ways we couldn't have even imagined.
Exactly. And
we all have different layers or tiers of how far a person can be pushed. I've learned that my tier is very, very high, but that also has a failing because it's so high, people don't recognise when I'm getting there.
Right, yeah.
And it gets me to a place where I'm so stretched, I'm like, okay, that's it. No. And then I just shut everything down. I'm like, I'm going to go take care of me for a few days. And they're like, where did you go? I'm like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. You know, it's my response. I mean, that was one of the things I had to ultimately get to, was take 100% responsibility for everything. And that was a big turning point when things were really bad.
But also, you go to the army at 16, like you leave at 23, 24. Even without all the kind of mental health problems, it's a massive change, isn't it?
Huge.
In, 7, 8 years.
I mean, like small things. It was small things I noticed. When I went to work, I didn't realise the speed of my work. Like how I just go. I'm like right into it, and guys are like, "Whoa, take it easy." I'm like, "I'm taking it easy." I'm like, mate, like, yeah, they're like, "Dude, slow down." Like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with you?
Why are you being so slow? Yeah.
And like, I remember turning up to work 7 o'clock, and I'm like, God, this is like early. This is like late in the day. Didn't get off the yard till 9 o'clock. I'm like, drove out to location. I'm like, right, go for the door handle. They're like, whoa, cup of tea first, mate. Cup of tea. I'm like, we've not done anything. And they're like, you're not in the army now, mate. Now that mental concept of either fall into their way of doing things or you're not going to survive.
Yeah. And
I didn't to begin with. I went from job to job to job, and I was like, I can't live like this. I can't live my life like this. That was when I took a bit of time out, and I went in the oil and gas industry for a little while. But in the end, I just had to be in charge of my own life. I had to be, I had to do the things I wanted to do, which was when I ended up being this public person that speaks and stuff.
Yeah. So from how did you kind of what help did you get for like your PTSD and things like that? How did you know that obviously there was things you were in a bad place, but how did you get from that to then out of these jobs and working out that you actually wanted to do good and make a difference in the world?
Yeah, I didn't get a single piece of emotional, psychological help, none. And I've spoken about this before, but at the time, me and my family got a bit of financial help. I was in debt. I was a mountain of stress on top of me. I had no car, no job, no phone. I'd just been made homeless. The council weren't going to help me. I had no savings, no money, and nothing. I just had a really, really bad experience. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table thinking, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to find a way out of this. And I just remember this utter belief in myself. And I'm not talking about I read it in a book. I'm talking like before I even knew about most of these personal development. I'm talking real old school grit of fuck you. I am not going to get beaten.
Yeah.
You know, and it was me. I was like, no chance. Now, then I had to go and do the actual hard work of, okay, now I've made the decision, what do I do next? I was getting no help from the council to get housing or anything. So I went to the only place, I had no leverage. I understand the concept of hierarchies of power, and nobody's going to listen to you unless you have some form of leverage or power. And I sat and I thought, you know what, the only thing I haven't got right now is an element that somebody's going to listen to me, so I need to change that. So I went to the media. I went to the press, the media, the magazines, the papers, everything. In 2008, my story hit the general public, and it went mainstream. It went Scotsman, Guardian, Observer, the Sun, the Daily Record, all the big tabloids. Went local press as well. Then I went to the council. The story was, local council will not help soldier.
Right.
And they started to listen.
I was going to say they'll listen after that.
Yeah, they listened. Oh, the phone call. Hi, no, we're here. We'll help you. And in the end, they didn't help me. So a local person helped me and put me in a private let at a reasonable rate. And it gave me a bit of breathing space.
Okay, that's good.
But I sat there thinking, I've achieved something that I couldn't have done before using
power of media.
And I remember being in Iraq, and Kate Adie, who was the foreign, the armed forces correspondent, and I remember being told, don't fucking talk to that woman. Like, as a soldier, all of us, do not talk to the press at all, because of the power of them. Because the press has the power to sway public opinion, and we all know these things, but as a young man and a soldier, I didn't understand. So then I thought, do you know what, this is interesting. And I had all this experience of PTSD, and I had nobody to help me. I actually woke up in a prison cell after I had a big fight with a bunch of police. This was the day that I quit drinking for a decade. I didn't drink for 10 years. I woke up in Durham prison cells, still wearing my kilt. I was at a wedding, and I'd beat up a few police, and I got myself into trouble in a big way. And I remember waking up thinking, that's it. This is it. This is the moment that your life turns around.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm joking and laughing, but
no, but yeah.
Real. What the fuck? I've actually got this as an introduction to my new book, but this was a moment of real, you are in a world of crap. Yeah. Like, my mental health was so bad back then. I didn't even care what people were thinking. And that's how bad it is, you know. It wasn't, I've got issues. I mean,
yeah.
Really, like, whatever. I'm so deep down into this self-imposed.
Drink exacerbates it all, doesn't it, there as well?
Yeah, and really so true. But I realised that to live any kind of quality of life, I wasn't.
What are you feeling like then? Because I always kind of think all those things that come out, like you just described, like, you know, being drunk and waking up in a kill. all those things usually come from when your attitude is like, oh, woe is me, and I'm a victim, and blaming everybody else for those problems.
Yeah, that was for me.
It's not my fault. It's their fault. Their fault. Their fault.
I was.
How you were at the time, like, feeling like, you know, maybe like the army had used, you know, just used and dumped you, and you're not what you. I suppose because you were doing job after job that didn't have a fulfilling purpose and stuff.
I was angry at the army. I was angry with the world.
Yeah.
Because, what I saw with that kid, I didn't say it earlier, but when I saw that kid, that kid was killed and blown up, there's a few things that hurt me really badly, which is where the PTSD actually really did it got an opportunity to get in.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about that if you want, but PTSD is a living, breathing thing. It's not a symptom. It's not a series of what the doctors say it is. And it's not a graded thing. You either have it or you don't. There's people talking about, I have complex PTSD. PTSD is about as complicated as it needs to be. Don't make it even more so. Don't give it a fucking, and you know, oh, I'm going to get the upsell to PTSD.
Everything like ADHD and all these different things. They get labelled with all these different variants, don't they? Just like tendencies and all these different things.
Well, this is, we talk about the things that light us up in life. Like, why do you do the things that you do? And for me, it's never about money. Money is important. Without money, you can't live a good quality of life. It's just a fact. But for me, service has always been a big, big deal. Being able to do good things for people does make me feel good. I like to be someone that's of value to the world. I want to be part of the world. I don't just want to be a quiet little person. I want to be part of the world in a bigger way.
It's making a difference, isn't
it? Like impact.
I think also helping someone else, I've realised, makes you feel really good and sort of distracts from if you're you know, like say you've had we've all had that thing where we speak to a friend on the phone and we've actually rung them because we want to offload on them, but then we don't get a chance because they end up like taking over the whole conversation. It's all about their problem, and then we help them, and then by the end of it you think, actually, mine wasn't that bad.
No, it's...
I'm not even going to bother bringing it up now, actually, or I'm just not going to embarrass the person because they've taken over the phone call. By help, but going to do actual, you know, good deed stuff, because I know recently I've done a lot of it, and it's really been healing for me. Like helping other people that have experienced problems like you know yourself that you've gone through. If you can help them, because you become a bit of an expert because you kind of come through to the other side. And it does make you feel so good, doesn't it? Because that's just like a human nature thing, isn't it? Helping people. Not everybody likes it though.
No, but that's the thing. You just mentioned it. That's exactly how I actually explain it if I'm on stage or whatever. It's human nature. I'd say 99% of the world, it's human nature. If you see someone in need, someone that needs a bit of help, you give it to them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's only when you see a big tragedy, like all the stuff that's been going on about Caroline Flack recently in the news. If there's you know a bomb goes off in London or somebody's stabbed in the middle, you know, you see human nature, you know, racism and prejudice is all put aside, and you see everybody helping each other. We only do that when there's a big thing that happens.
It's funny you say that because I had that exact conversation. Like the reason that we speak of, it's true because like the reason, just so I'll finish that bit, but the reason I do what I do is I was truly impacted at 18 years old, and I just maybe turned 19. I think I was still 18 at the time, and I saw that kid blown up, and his father had him in his arms, and he fell to the ground. He just gave up, kind of like his world has just been ended.
Yeah.
And his mum turned up, and I can still hear and see her, and I can see the kid's face, I see the father's face, and I can smell what it smelt like, and I feel how the sun looked, the time of day, the dust in the earth, the humidity, the heat on my arm, the way the vehicles looked. I remember every detail like it's an ingrained moment. But what the hardest part for me is that part we're talking about just now. If you see somebody in need, you want to help them.
Yeah.
However big or small, it's just a need, a human connection to help somebody else out. Right there and then in that moment, we were ordered to leave that family at the side of the road. And that is what fucked me up.
Yeah.
And because in my head, I knew the kid had been killed.
Natural instinct.
Yes.
Human nature instinct to go.
Yes. And when we drove away, it fucking broke me.
Yeah.
I just remember thinking, how dare we do this? You know, fuck this mission, fuck the army, fuck the government, fuck the Queen, fuck everything. That poor people, we have the means to show them some compassion.
Yeah.
We drove away and oh man, and that made me so angry. But nobody spoke about it, ever.
Yeah.
And, you're talking about there that what's happened with Caroline Flack. I actually haven't spoken about it publicly yet, and it's horrible what's happened. And I've had, and I know you've experienced I've had public trolls. I've had people talk at me, say things to me, take the piss, and we laugh it off. But when we go to bed at night, it can get to you sometimes, and it takes a strong person to not let it get to you. But like you just said, it takes a big event. That is the failing.
It is, yeah, exactly.
It's not that that poor girl has, decided to take her own life because of the sheer onslaught of volume of public opinion, which is disgusting.
Yeah, and the media as well exacerbating it all on. Yeah. Even though I think when I first heard about it, I actually thought this is going to be a good example of a domestic abuse or violence episode. You don't know all the facts, obviously, but I thought it's always the man. I kept thinking if this was R. Kelly, that's a bit of an exaggerated example, but if this is R. Kelly, then people wouldn't have as much sympathy. But because it's a woman who is very attractive, small. You don't know what happens behind closed doors, and I'd read some of the history where it was like a second incident where it hadn't just been once that has happened.
Yeah.
And I think for any celebrity to get the police involved, there's got to be a big enough reason for that, because no one wants to get the police involved in their life, and for a celebrity to, then you've got to be desperate, haven't you?
Yeah.
Normally you would go and ring a friend or family. So I did think there must be something in it. That was my judgment, but not at all to deserve this constant, like you say, trolling. And so I've made sort of blunt comments about when it was all going on, saying that if it was a man, it'd be a different thing. But I think there's some people that just take things so far, don't they? Like,
there's no filter anymore. People can say whatever they want online.
You could just put all sorts of things, just like that, like you say, call them keyboard warriors, but people are really like nasty. Like I've seen it just in people just sharing, something on the Sun about somebody.
Yeah.
And they have these massive opinions, and you're just like, you don't even know the circumstances, and they're just like getting so nasty. But yeah. Right. And I think, celebrity. Well, look at what was her name now? Peach's mum, Bob Geldof's.
Yeah.
Can't think of her name now, but there's a lot of celebrities. I think that we see them as having this celebrity life, all the money, everything, but it can go too much the other way, can't it? I think it affects your mental health. There's so many celebrities that have mental health issues.
Oh.
It's again, they're not kind of living in that normal society way, and they can't share now with social media. They've got to be seen as perfect, and
it's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. It's and you see it in everyday life. You see it in the workplace. You see it in the NHS. It's huge. You know what? I've said this before. It's not 1 in 4. It's fucking everybody.
Yeah.
It's everybody. Yes, some people live a very successful and what might seem a reasonably stress-free life. But nobody gets out unscathed.
Exactly.
I mean, come on, the fuck. It doesn't matter. You could have done everything right, all the things you wanted in life to some degree work out for you. You're still not getting out unscathed. It's just not going to happen.
No, exactly. I had this with my son recently, he's 9, where he was like, I just want to be normal because of all our family issues. And I was like, what is normal? I got a real bee in my bonnet about it. I think at the end of it, he thought, I want to bring that up again. I was like, what is normal? What is normal? And then he was like bringing up friends of his, you know, that like the mum and dad are still together and they look like they're perfect. And they're not normal. If you went into their house and you spent a week there, you would find out, oh, what is normal? There isn't a normal anyway. And actually, it's boring being normal.
Yeah.
Like, we're all different. We've all got different characters. Nothing in life is normal.
And a lot of the time, what people are really saying, kids and adults, is they just want to fit in.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they just want to have they just want to be part of the group. And we're all social structures of life. We're all like that. You go to a new place of work, you don't just go, right, I'm here to get to the fucking top and you are going to fucking love me. You know, that might be your intention, but you do not tell people that. You keep that shit to yourself. You find your way and you go quietly, you know, you do things the right way. Because, you know, people judge it.
It's who you are, to be fair.
Yeah, it's right.
People probably would go in like that.
Yeah, I'm here to fuck shit up. You're going to last 2 days.
I'm thinking of characters that I know. So, okay, so, yeah, where were we? Let's get back on track. So you were, all the whole PTSD stuff, you decided after you woke up with a kill to give up alcohol, and you decide, you got in the press with the council, and that made you realise the power of media, really, PR. Yeah,
I mean, it's weird how I have actually got so much experience with the press and media and branding and PR. I got a real education firsthand. Like I did televised campaigns and worked with some real big ones that have reached like millions of people, you know, eyeballs that have seen it like for 2 weeks, like 4 million people saw it in a week kind of thing. Like, bloody hell, you know, like the real power here. And I remember, I'll tell you a few stories actually, but when I got in the press and I got a bit of breathing space and I thought, right, going to get my life into a good place now. And I did that. And I found myself with not a bad amount of money. I was okay again. I'm not talking rich. I'm just talking, I was in the 3,000 a month bracket. I'm like, comfortable.
Yeah. Got
a second-hand car. Didn't have to calculate how much food shopping was going to cost.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, okay, looking forward to Christmas. Like, oh my God, happy with the smallest of things. So then because I've made sure everyone in my family at the time was happy, I thought, right, what do I want to do? And then social media was becoming a thing. So this was 2008. I think Facebook came out 2005, 2007, around that time.
I think it did,
yeah. Now this was before the Web 2.0 video satellite stuff. And I'd written a lot of stuff when I was young. I was always writing poetry in the army. So I had this creative expressive need to speak.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it all the way through, even up until I'm like my late 20s. I'm a communicator. That's what I am. I need to be able to express myself. So I started a blog and I wanted to talk about anything that I knew could help a soldier or a veteran or his family not go through the shit I'd gone through.
Yeah.
So if I could do something to inspire them, great. And I had a literary agent and I was almost getting a book deal from Simon & Schuster or Penguin, and we were talking to Random as well, and it didn't quite happen, but we were talking about all this stuff, and through I had a ghostwriter and we were talking, and the name just popped up one day. I've been carrying these Unspoken Wounds for so long. I was like, that's actually a really good name, Unspoken Wounds. I said, that just captures.
It's such a good name.
Yeah, it just captures so much. It's not we've all got wounds, all of us, exactly. And we don't like to talk about them. And I had this belief, I've always believed, right, that you can't inspire anyone unless you are inspired yourself. And I thought, I can't expect anyone else to talk about their shit if I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
So I made the concrete decision, I'm going to share everything, the lot. And I've had a few people go, I can't believe you fucking shared that story. I'm like, why? Like, what's so scary about the truth?
No, exactly.
You know, it's like I'm telling people the God's honest truth, and I was so vulnerable, and it just worked. You know, and it was
people are scared of this vulnerability, like, or just people just sharing something that I don't know. They just don't want. Some people are really like, oh, I don't want to hear it. You know, like it's
what they're truly scared about is the view and opinions of the people that they're closest to. So if they were to share the truth, doesn't have to be online, doesn't have to be anything. They can just share it.
More people receiving it though, because I've had it where I've been really open to talk about, like, you know, my experiences and stuff, and I don't really like this whole terms for things, probably like PTSD, isn't it?
Yeah.
The whole domestic abuse thing, I steer away from it, or victim. I don't like all these words.
Yeah, yeah.
I just see it as sharing my life, and if it inspires people. But people get really uncomfortable talking about different topics, and I think, well, if I'm comfortable, why are you not? You know, like how people react to it. Cause maybe it's because they just don't know what to do or say.
Usually, in my experience, it's because you've hit a nerve.
Possibly, yeah.
You've shone a light on something that's quite close to home in them, and they back off, or they shut down, and they're like, I'm not ready to deal with this yet.
Yeah, must be then, must be.
You know? But the thing is, you've got no control over how people react.
No, exactly.
You know, and it takes a lot of guts to like you've done, like you've spoken out and you've shared things. It takes a lot of courage.
Exactly.
You know, especially in this day when people are quick to go online. I remember somebody saying something to me. I did a Facebook post, a live stream. Even I wasn't expecting the amount. I turned it on, and I remember looking at the counter going up, up. And I was like, there's 1,800 people on this live. There's 1,800 people on. And I remember going, that's a fucking lot of. Hi everyone, so you know, and I did my live, and I was like, bloody hell. And then later on, I saw this comment, you're only doing this for the bloody attention. And I thought, yeah, you're right, I am.
Yeah.
Clearly, mate, I'm only doing it for the attention. That's why it's live. Hello.
I remember being on one of your lives where you got there was loads of people, because you were going, oh my God, I think I might have even been on that. You were going, it's going up. It's 1,000 what? So obviously that person is thinking people just misunderstand or just see things from their own eyes.
Yeah.
That's what he would have been thinking, or she would have been thinking.
And the public are weird. They're really funny. They're the most entertaining thing I've had in many of my experiences, like, because, like, I'm not joking, right? Like, I'll get my phone's done up. I'll get my phone and I'll go, do you know what? I've got a really great idea. This is gonna go fucking viral, and I'll do it, and I'll edit it, and da-da-da. Liked 13. I'm like, what the fuck? And tomorrow, the next day, I won't even think about it, and I'll go, hey, blah, 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 bang. A 15-second clip, and it goes, woof. I'm like, oh, hang on a minute.
You can never predict it. And actually, the real stuff is always the best, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, from my experience with social media, people want to see real lives, don't they, rather than kind of edited and all looking slick.
Yeah, I mean, we'd all love that.
Your intro video is pretty good though. How many people, so Unspoken Wounds, the Facebook page, or is it is a page, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a page, yeah.
When did that start then? 2008?
2008, it's 10 years we've been going now.
12.
Oh yeah.
I did a team more on point.
No, 2010. 2010 it started, I think.
Oh, 2010. Okay. 2010.
What am I, Steve? I got hide on shit, man.
10 years-ish.
10 years. So I got fucking 12 years,
How many people on that page now? How many likes have you got?
It's about 15,000.
15,000. God, that's good.
Yeah, but here's the thing as well, right? there are people out there who do similar stuff and they've got 100,000 or 1 million fans, and it looks amazing, but there's no engagement.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Right? And it looks great, it does. But they're not talking to these people.
Mm.
I've got 15,000 or something. I try to reply to almost, it became quite, not impossible, but a full-time, like 18 hours a day to reply to everyone. And I had to make the decision to go, Steve, come on.
Yeah.
You know, because I can't reply to some of these comments, 600 comments or 180, and I'm like, that is all day.
Yeah.
You know? It's so.
I've seen you get a lot of engagement though, and that's what's important. Like you say, it's not the numbers, but still, 15,000 is a lot of people that you're.
Well, I did. My mate phoned me up last year, and he's like, Stevie, I'm in the paper now and again. He's like, oh, I've seen you in the paper, mate. And I was like, no, I'm not. They usually phone me to let me know that they're doing something. He's like, dude, you're on the press. I was like, oh no. They open it up and Steve Beedie, Unspoken Wounds is doing a big public event. I'm like, what the fuck? So I was like, well, I've got to do it now. And I did enjoy doing it. It was great, but I was having so much press at the time. The local TV station, which is our national Scottish TV, STV, messaged me and they're like, do you mind if we come along? I'm like, you're asking me?
Exactly.
I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So the media's, it's a strange field, but I think it can do the best good.
Yeah.
Because I believe that like all this stuff I went through with my illnesses and my PTSD and depression and anxiety, there's other parts of it that lonely. I also had a lot of rage.
Yeah.
You know? And I want to express this, that I am not ashamed or regret a single moment of it, because it gave me access to a part of me that,
exactly.
You know, that gave me, this is a part of you as well. I think the entire universe is a duality. There is a side to everything.
Yeah. And you can't really kind of analyse stuff or work out what you enjoy or what brings you happiness if you haven't had stuff that bring you shit, or you've been. So what? People are so worried about making mistakes, aren't they, or being perfect. It winds me up.
Yeah. Oh my God, the amount of mistakes I've made. Fuck.
Someone said to me years ago, we're all fucked up. We're all fucked up in a different way. And so I said it to one of my friends, and they were like, "What? No, I'm not. People get really defensive about that.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like we're all crazy, but we all have, nobody's perfect, and we've all got, it's just learning from stuff or just what makes us happy. It's about happiness at the end of the day. Happiness to the world.
Yeah. I was shooting a documentary for a university student at the weekend. We went to a military museum to do it. It was a brilliant all-day thing. I was doing it for nothing to help her out. It's a dissertation, a media student. I just love. See, this is the thing, right? I don't just like media to get attention. I love the entire thing. Like, I'm working with students for nothing to help them out. You know, and I'm like, I love the game. I just love being in the game. I'm so happy to be alive. And I truly believe that when you figure out, when you're self-aware and you figure out, this is what I want to do with my life. This above everything else, whether it makes me rich or whatever, as long as it makes me fucking happy. This thing happens. The serendipity of life opens up. So for me, one of my greatest treasures is old people, and especially old war veterans.
Yeah.
They're a dying breed. There's not much more than left. Now, at the weekend, I went to help the student, and I organised where we were going to go, and I did a bunch of stuff for her. I turned up, and the curator was like, "Oh, I'll take you through." I'm like, oh, wow. And he's talking about all this stuff, and I'm looking at this letter. I think it was from General Patton or Eisenhower. And I'm looking at it, and it's about World War II, the D-Day landings. I'm like, fucking hell. I'm looking at a piece of history. It was wonderful. And I'm looking at these photos, and the guy said, he's in the building today. What? He said, yeah, Jim, he's a D-Day veteran, London veteran. I went, he's in the building. I went, yeah, and I went, would you please introduce them to me? And he's like, of course I will. So I've got a photo, and I sat with this guy, and I'm not like in awe.
Yeah.
I'm like, now I would never have met the man, known about his story, let alone get a photo with him or get to hear his story. And he was just this normal old guy. And the funny thing was, he was volunteering. He was working at the museum that day.
You know what? This man, I know everyone talks about. I used to think it was all a bit woo-woo, all this sort of spiritual manifestation.
So true.
You know what? It is true because
it's true.
It's that whole focus. I think it's just a focus thing, and it just brings people to you. Or
yeah,
before, because you didn't have that focus, you didn't see those opportunities. I don't know. It's a combination of everything there.
Yeah, I think that the part people forget or they get hung up on is that they have an expectation. Get rid of that and just be in the bit. Just be happy because you're there, like a big kid.
Just be giving to other people, have fun, and helping people, and just showing love, and just being happy, just having that energy, and just giving yourself to everything that you're doing, and then it all just comes together, doesn't it?
100%. Another bit of serendipity, when I did my first big event, I was so excited, but the day of the event, a million things went wrong. 3-4 hours before it kicked off, I was like, shit. And I totally handled it, and I was like, rushing about. 10 minutes before people were arriving, I had this vision in my head of a massive, like, big entrance and music and all this stuff, and it wasn't going to happen. And I was like, shit, what do I do? What do I do? And my friend went, just relax, chill out, be yourself. And I was like, what am I doing? And do you know what I did? I sat at the entrance and I said hello to every single person that came in. I was just myself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, no big flamboyant bullshit. Nobody cares. And it worked. And I remember at the end of the day going, you fucking idiot. What did you think you were going to do? You know, you don't care about some big entrance. Just be yourself. It's fucking true.
It's funny how I could just so relate to that. Just we do that to ourselves all the time.
Yeah. Right. When I'm going to get the lights to go down and the curtains to come in, and my lights, fuck off. No.
So you've done. I've seen you. I've got to say, I look from the side. I think you are one of those good eggs. I see you do all this. You know. I know you're probably not perfect. You're probably
far from perfect.
Well, looking, you know, I was saying it to somebody the other day. I think in fact it was Lewis. Me and Lewis were talking about, because I was saying we were interviewing you, and we say, yeah, he's a good bloke, and you know the stuff that you can see that you've really helped a lot of people.
Yeah. And
especially within Unspoken, and the fact that you were wanting to reply to every single comment. 600 comments. I would like give up after 4. I'll forget the rest of it. But it just shows that you really want to help people. Yeah. You've done so much, haven't you, in Unspoken Wounds? Because I think you've had to turn people away because there's been so many people who've been wanting one-to-one help that you were giving. Yeah. You were giving people for free, weren't you? Giving you time, help.
Oh, I was actually helping a girl out there before the interview. Some girl messaged me, anyone to talk. She was having problems with the council. She's got 3 kids. She's a single mum. She's really struggling. I was speaking to her for like half an hour before we got in this interview.
Yeah.
So I can't help everybody, and I know that anymore. And I've come to terms with it. It's okay to not help everyone.
Yeah, exactly. You've only got enough time yourself that you can help.
Yeah.
So what is the mission now? If we round things up, what is the mission now for 2020, for the next decade? Because you were telling me some stuff before we went live. I don't know what part you can put out into the world now.
Yeah.
Where's Unspoken Wounds going? Where's that going?
I have thought about this a lot, and I've had so much fun. I've done Unspoken Wounds for 10 years for free. I've done it for free. It's cost me a lot of money, I should say. I've not made any money. I did an event, and I made a wee bit of money, and I was just so happy that I could do it. But in terms of moving forward, I've got 2 things I'm really, really happy to share. I'm turning Unspoken Wounds into a sort of like a media conglomerate where we share stories with a lot more people, not just me, because I think I've shared enough of me. I want to give more of everybody else's story. So I'm going to be interviewing thousands and thousands of people over the next few years and sharing that. But for me personally, I have reached a very pivotal place in my life where the amount of people that have committed suicide and taken their own life, it's a very, very personal thing to me. I want to do something big. I want to go real big on this. And I've got a lot of demons that I haven't buried yet that I need to get rid of. So I'm basically designed a pilgrimage where I'm going to be cycling from my hometown in the northeast of Scotland in Banff all the way through the UK, zigzagging to every major city, stopping to give a talk, meeting people in the street, doing lives at the side of the towns, and just talking with people all over the UK, and having it documented. And then I'm going to be going over to Dunkirk, doing the Dunkirk thing, and then travelling through most of Europe all the way through to Kosovo. So it's going to be about 6,000 miles in total on a bike. So I'll have no arse cheeks left.
When are you planning to kick this off?
This year. It's going to be the end of spring, start summer. So hopefully I get the good weather window.
Yeah.
3 months, sort of 3 months on the road, because I'm going south, sort of like south east. So I'll be getting progressively warmer as I go. So there's that. But
that sounds really good. I hope you're going to stop off south of Birmingham so that we can.
I am.
Get a live done or whatever on your way. Give you a cup of tea, keep you warm.
Yeah, do you know what as well? And this is the thing, right? It's you ever heard of that story called Stone Soup?
No, I've not heard of that.
It's an old Aesop's fable where I remember it as a kid. I had this book called Aesop's Fables, and the fable goes that it doesn't matter if you've got nothing, there's always enough.
Yeah.
So this it's a pilgrim, and it's a stranger enters the town, and there's a cauldron that's empty, like a cauldron with they would cook in, and he's got nothing and he's starving, and he's a clever old dude, and he looks in, and this stranger says, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm going to cook some vegetable soup." You haven't got anything. And he's like, "I tell you what, go and get me a stone." And he gets him the stone and he puts it in, and he went, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm going to make stone soup." He says, "You haven't got anything." He says, "Well, if you go and get me a carrot." He says, "Okay." And the kid runs away, gets him a carrot. And another stranger goes, "What are you making?" "Stone soup." "You haven't got anything." "I'll get you an onion." Before you know it, the entire village has got him every ingredient that he needs. The fire started, and the whole village is around the cauldron.
Yeah, I like that.
And at the end, it's just like, it doesn't matter if you've got nothing. We've all got enough. And if we come together, we will find a way. And it's just a good, heartwarming story. It's a kid's story. It's a fable, but the essence of it's real.
Yeah.
Everybody's wanting to get to £1 million. If I get this number, then I'll be happy. No.
It's ridiculous. It's
ridiculous. Like, I was about 2 years ago, I had a nice fancy Jeep and money in the bank, and, like 10 grand, 15 grand. I had like stuff everywhere. And I'm like, miserable. I wasn't happy. I'm like, why am I so attached to these things? Because everybody in around my town there's such a big oil and gas and fishing. There's a lot of money where I live. I thought, this isn't me. I want to be that guy, which is where I am now, that his outgoings are very, very small. So I can focus on being able to get by. So I can eat for 50 pence a day for a week. Yeah. And I'm not going to go hungry. And I can focus on building my brand and building my business and being okay with that. Like, I'd rather have, I wanted to meet Gary Vee. I've never told this story. I wanted to meet Gary Vaynerchuk, and I'd spoken to him. We'd spoke person to person on text through Snapchat. And I was like, this guy is real. I love his stuff, his content, his books, but I want to meet him. So I didn't have the money, and I didn't have the means. And the transportation at that time, I had a shit couple of months. I was like, there's got to be a way. So I contacted the organizer, the event organizer, got the phone number, phoned them up. They're called Success Resources. I phoned them up and I went, got a business proposition. Like what? Says, I'm going to be doing this event and I'd like to talk. I think we could get Success Resources up to Scotland. They're like, oh, we're just thinking about something like this. Let me put you on to the organisers. Within an hour, they're like, look, we want you to come down to London so you can pitch to us. But we've got the event coming next week. Would you mind coming down and we'll introduce you to all the speakers? I was like, who's speaking? We've got this person, that person, and Gary Vee. And I went, can you get me to Gary Vee? And they're like, yeah, done. I was like, okay, send me a ticket. I got a Diamond Executive, $2,500 ticket at the front of the event because I made a phone call.
Exactly, because you had the balls to do that.
Had the balls to do it. Now, instead of going, oh,
well, picking up a phone, people just don't want to get stuck in and do it.
There is this, and that's that serendipity. If there is something that you truly want, and even though I got the ticket and I was like, oh my God, shit, how do I get to London? How do I stay there for 2 days? I'm being honest. I didn't have the money. I had there was things going out of my account all the time. I'm like, shit. So then I hit soldier mode. Right. What's the cheapest way to get to London? Megabus. £28 for the megabus. A 12-hour journey there. Where do I sleep while in London? I slept in a place called Shadwell, and it was an £8 a night hostel. It was not pleasant.
I bet it was.
But you know what? It wasn't Iraq.
Exactly.
Right? And I did it for 2 days, and I didn't shower for 2 days. So there wasn't a shower facility.
All the trees coming out now.
But you know what?
But you got
Gary
Vee, didn't you, from having, like you say, like a $2,500.
Yeah. And he grabbed my phone and took the best selfie that I have to this day. And it's the coolest selfie. And he's got like such a genuine. And I'm in Daily V in one of the videos. I met D-Rock, and I'm actually proud that video is the one that his mum is at the start. And I'm in that episode.
Yeah, I'll have to go and check it out. I've seen
it. And it's just this quick.
I've seen the selfie, I think, but I haven't seen the video.
Yeah, but there's this bit when he's bent down and he's being pulled away, like, Gary, we've got to go, your flight. And I'm watching this, and I was like, Gary, you've got 10 seconds, mate. And he's like, yeah. And I asked him his question, and he just went, do this. And I went, okay. I was knackered, so tired. On that bus journey home, I crowdfunded $3,500 to launch that video that you see at the start of Unspoken Wounds.
Ah, brilliant.
So after meeting him, I didn't sleep on the entire bus. I was like this, networking, all 12 hours. I'm telling you.
It shows you the fuel and the focus.
Yeah, I made a packed lunch to go out to London. I made a packed lunch in Scotland, and I ate my packed lunch for 2 days. It cost me £74 to do that.
Yeah.
That's business.
That's a brilliant story. And you got crowdfunding on the way back to the video.
Yeah, that story I'm hoping one day to share on the big stage, like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I do something like this cycle, the serendipity of life I was talking about, if it like this cycle, sorry, I'm getting off on that because I'm so passionate about this stuff. But this cycle to Kosovo, I'm going back to that very spot where I saw that kid.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. So.
Yeah, and I'm having it filmed. I know it's going to be very emotional, very hard.
Yeah.
Very hard. I'm really hoping to turn it into something that I can share that inspires people. But it's called Veteran's Heart, because if everybody knows that watches Unspoken Wounds, I talk about this thing, heart and fire. Heart and fire is a very real thing for me. It's mine. I talk about it. It is my belief that heart and fire is what got me through that toughest times. Got me to being a good dad, to being a good person, to wanting to help other people. If you're going to live this life, make mistakes. Make as many fucking mistakes as you can. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Be afraid to not be willing to just go for it. Make the fucking phone call. Admit when you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's not complicated.
Yeah. I think that people are too proud, aren't they? And just worried about what other people think all the time. I think any adversity makes you I just don't really care. Of course, I care what people think about me.
Yeah, of course we do.
Everybody does to an extent.
100%.
Compared to how I was before,
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm not bothered as much as I was.
Yeah, you don't let it change the needle in your emotional day.
No, exactly,
No.
exactly. But if I hear, or someone sends me a message on social media, or someone puts a nasty comment, I don't really care. Whereas I used to be really bothered about it.
Yeah.
Because I think I think a lot of people are too much. If you just did what you were when you were a kid, before you had all these different life experiences, we laugh at children, don't we, when they do something fun that we think's funny, but it's usually when it's being really vulnerable and just going out there and being really confident. It's only when us parents laugh at them that then they don't do it again, and the cycle continues.
It's so true. It's so true.
So yeah, it sounds exciting, your pilgrimage. I'll round off now. So you got your pilgrimage, you got your unspoken wounds. If people want to come and find you and follow this pilgrimage, will you be sharing it on Unspoken Wounds? How will they?
Yeah, just go to facebook.com/unspoken wounds, or you can find me on Instagram at Steve Beedie.
Okay.
I'm gonna be putting out an Unspoken Wounds TikTok as well.
Ooh, check you out, getting down with the kids. I've seen loads of stuff recently about TikTok blowing up.
Well, I actually tested it out a couple of weeks ago. I put on a daft video and it got like 11,000 hits in a few days. So it's really good. Yeah,
people are doing it now for physical products as well for Amazon.
Are they?
Yeah, because it's a combination of Facebook and YouTube, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, wow. So yeah, we need to learn some stuff from these kids going down. So yes, so go to Steve Beedie on all the socials or Unspoken Wounds. One final thing, obviously this is called Your Freedom Podcast, and I have a group that's attached that's called Your Freedom Project. What does freedom mean to you?
Wow.
I've never known you stuck with words.
Do you know what? I'm giving it a bit of thought. Do you know what freedom means to me? It's just be able to laugh all the time, to have fun, to really feel there's so much seriousness. Now, we all have things that are important to us, like business, family, what's your mission, and these things are important. But do you know what? What is the point in doing all these things and achieving success if you didn't have fun along the way?
Yeah,
It's got to be about, you get one fucking life. One life. Just have fun, because it will come out anyway. You're going to get to these things. Better to get to them happy, because if you're stressed out getting to it, when you achieve it, it's not going to flick a switch. It's just not. You got to have fun. Just, to laugh.
I like that because people live in these restrictions, or they put restrictions on themselves to not enjoy everything they do, or they separate work and personal. If they thought of it all as part of their life, they'd feel more free to be happy and have fun and do whatever they do.
It's true, like freedom. Like I mean that as well, because like people will say, you can't do that. Like, really? That's interesting. Bang! I just did.
Exactly.
And then they go, huh. Because you've shown them there's a variety or a version where they're wrong, and it's not about you going, I told you so. It's just about you saying, I'm all right. It's chill out, relax. Just come down a bit, because I've been that super stressed out, tense. It's like when something's tense, like if you've ever been in a car accident or something, and you tense up, that's when the brakes happen. That's when, if someone's asleep in the car and it tumbles, they wake up and they go, oh, what happened? And they're okay.
Yeah, they're okay.
Because they were just moving with it,
Yeah.
It's like, just slow down a bit, be more okay with things going wrong. Like, it's true. What's the worst that can happen?
Exactly.
Like, chill out, it's going to be all right.
Exactly.
It's true, it really is true.
It is, because now if I have a car accident, thinking of the car accident example, or I'm a tyre that blows, I just don't really care. And like my mum will say things like, you don't need to care about stuff anymore. Like, because actually it's a car. I'll get a new tyre. So what is the point in getting all stressed out over it? I think when you've had bigger things to stress you out, you can put all little things into perspective more, can't you? It just naturally happens. So you become more chilled because you've had all the whole anxiety stuff before.
100%.
Brilliant. It's been absolutely brilliant doing this interview. I really appreciate it. It's felt really natural. I really appreciate your time. You're an inspiring guy. A really cool story. No, because it does really help. Honestly, it really does help people listening.
Thank you.
And, you know, the whole pilgrimage, I think you are somebody that I see that has got a heart of gold. So you're doing the veteran hearts thing.
Yeah, I didn't tell you what kind of bike it is, though. It's weird. I'm kidding. It's a normal bike. This is little kid's little car.
Kid's bike that's bright pink. But no, thanks ever so much for this interview. And everybody listening, go and check out Steve Beedie on the socials or go to Unspoken Wounds. And you'll be able to see what he's doing and follow his bike ride and maybe help him with his stone soup along the way.
Yeah. Help me lose a few stone.
Exactly. All right, great stuff, Steve. Really appreciate it. Catch you soon. Thanks, guys.
So much.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thank you for listening. Hope you had a blast. Here to elevate your life. It's the Freedom Podcast. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. Wanna see you all win. Wanna see you all shine. Just make sure that you subscribe. Bringing good vibes. Join the Facebook group. Now it's time to change your life. Hope you come back. Right now is the chance. This is an experience. It's the Freedom Podcast. Hey.